Welcome, everybody, to Wolves After Dark. We've got a new face here. Well, you guys know him, but it's Mark from the Discord. Shout out. Thanks for joining us. If you're new here, like the stream, subscribe to the stream. We're over 1,700 subscribers now, which is awesome. And unfortunately, after tonight's loss, the Timberwolves go down 0-2 to the Mavs, both in ridiculously close games, unfortunately for the Heart. But they lose tonight on a Luka 3, and things are not looking great. Hard to come back down 0-2, especially when you lose both of your home games. But yeah, Mark, how are you feeling after this one?
Well, I mean, anybody that's in the Discord knows I'm kind of the eternal optimist. So while it's hard to be that in moments like these, these series are 7 games for a reason, and it's to let the cream rise to the top. And I do think that from top to bottom, the Wolves are a better team than the Mavs. It just so happens that they caught us on a couple sleepy nights, which can't happen in the playoffs. But I guess we go to Dallas and we see.
Yeah, and we've played well on the road. Now we're 3-4 at home, I believe, and I think we're 6-1 on the road or something, like 5-1 on the road. I don't remember. So this is potentially a good thing for us, but I mean, both of these games, unfortunately, were very winnable. And tonight, unfortunately, kind of falls on Anthony Edwards a lot, because even though he was okay at moments and he drove way more tonight, which I loved, he got to the free throw line a bunch. Crucial turnover. We had it in the bag. All you had to do was either drive to the rim, get a shot attempt up or something, and instead throws it away. And then that's the problem. You can't allow Doncic or Kyrie to get a game-winning attempt because they just shoot too well. But to stay a little bit on the optimism side is just that. I mean, I believe that this team is better. I don't necessarily believe that the series is over. I'm certainly not feeling great. But like you said, this is a 7-game series for a reason, and there's no reason that we couldn't go in there and win 2 games at the Mavs. But yeah.
I think also something to keep in mind is when the skill is so evenly matched as it is in this head-to-head, the mental lapses are going to be what decides a game. And those turnovers, although we didn't have any like Mitch Trubisky throws that were 5 aisles up into the stands, that one that happened ended up kind of deciding this game. So just got to tighten it up mentally. And I think we're seeing kind of the experience differential show a little bit. And back to the drawing board.
For sure. Some things were better tonight. We did a lot more of the blitzing rather than the drop coverage, although we still went back to the drop coverage, and it seemed like it took too long to get out of it at times. But yeah, you're right. The experience is the bad part right now because, Ant has not looked good for 3 games. I mean, he kind of I don't want to say he won us the game for Game 7 against Denver, but these 2 games against the Mavs have been really, really bad for Anthony Edwards. And Towns has also been playing really bad, and those are your 2 best players. So you can't. And then the 2 best players for the Mavs are, of course, playing really, really well. So sure, we have the better bench, and like you said earlier, I think top to bottom we have a better team, and I do believe that. And then the problem is that they have really good 3-point shooters off of their bench. So even when they have to kick it out, they have a good chance at getting a good 3. And then the lobs, I mean, seriously, I was about to punch a hole in my monitor. The lobs drive me insane because we've seen Gafford do this to us for years now, whether it was on the Wizards or here or wherever.
And on a lot of those lobs and putbacks, it looked like we were watching Gordon all over again.
It did, yes.
It's not a new story, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is not good. But, I mean, I guess question to you. Did you feel like this game was better or worse than the first game?
Energy-wise, it was definitely better. Not only from the team, but from the crowd, too. It just seemed like there was a little more desperation, maybe. or just more mentally locked in, at least to start. But whatever it was that the Wolves had in the first quarter, I suppose, it just seemed to fizzle, and we can't have that. It's got to be wire to wire. You got to carry that same energy from start to finish, and you can't let up. And also, I'm just not seeing the on the floor leadership from Mike that we've been seeing, especially in the regular season. It just seems like he's along for the ride a little bit, and that can't be the case. Like he's got to be that floor general coach on the floor that we got so used to seeing from him.
Yeah, he's had a couple questionable passes and turnovers recently too, where I'm like, man, this is not normal from Mike. And we definitely need his leadership here in this round of the playoffs, which seems to be like our problem. But you're right. You reminded me. I forgot that we went up by like 15 or 18 or whatever we went up by in this game. What was it? Actually, it went up by like 20 or 18. We were up by 18 at one point. And the Mavs' biggest lead was only 3. But I mean, they just, as Mason says here in the comments, yes, we have the better team, but they have the better closers. And I think that is well put, because Doncic is amazing. He's still young too. I mean, like, he's not like an old player, but he is seriously incredible offensively. And Kyrie has obviously been around. He's been in the finals. He's won the finals and lost. He's had time to do both. And he's clearly a vet. And then, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, not only do they have the better closers, but do we have any closers?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Even in the regular season, like, we didn't have a ton of like close game wins against good teams. At least, the big wins were usually like easy, towards the end of the game. And who do you look to when it has to be decided in a nail biter? Like, it can't always be Naz for 3. There's got to be somebody else you can count on when the pressure is on. And I'm racking my brain trying to think of who that's going to be. You want it to be Ant, want it to be, but so far the evidence doesn't say that he's that right now. So no. I'm not an Ant hater by any means. I do think like the future's bright. Yeah. But I want really bad the future to be right now.
I know. Because it just is so within our grasp. It feels like, both of these games felt like games that we could win if we just have 1 or 2 plays go in our favor. Think of that. I'm not trying to go to the refs because we lost this game. This is not a ref thing. But after the last game, I felt like I didn't blame the refs at all, and then I kind of watched a little bit of the replay, and I was like, maybe I do blame the refs a little bit more. But no, I'm not blaming the refs right now. But think, if that call where it goes out of bounds on Jaden, but it's actually a foul on Kyrie, that's Kyrie's 5th. And was that under 2 minutes? Because then Jaden would have been shooting free throws. So there's then we're possibly up by 3 or 4.
And that's Adam Silver. That's not even a ref thing. That's just how the rule is written right now.
Yep, exactly.
And I do believe plays like that are what get rules changed in the offseason. So, it's too little too late, of course, for this game. But it's that's a rule book thing.
It is. It's a tricky one. Rob says the Suns were garbage. Nuggets literally have no bench. The Mavs are going to end your season. Nice picture of a dog, by the way. Hopefully getting a sneak peek of Henry tonight at some point, but we'll see if Henry joins stream at some point.
Yeah, he's snoozing on the couch right now. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah, he's he's not happy with this game, but
no. The little cat's not happy with the big cat.
That's true. Bringing up that's a great segue into Karl-Anthony Towns, who was 4 of 16 and did not play. I don't know. Did he play in the fourth quarter, or did he not play at all in the fourth quarter? Either way, not a
if
great
he did
game
minimal minutes.
It looks like he took 1 shot, and it was maybe
probably
not.
A brick 3.
I think he missed it. It was a 3. I think that he. Yeah, weird game from him. At first, I was watching a little bit of the post game with like Charles and everybody and Draymond, and all of them were saying like the same things that you always hear about them, which I just hate listening to their analysis because it's just so clear that they don't know the team at the level that we do. Because sure, hypothetically, if you are just thinking of like a randomly generated player that is Karl-Anthony Towns size, that also shoots threes, you're probably like, yeah, like he should be taking it into the post more and all that. But we know that one, he's not super strong when it comes to the post, and two, a lot of the time when he gets in the post, he's going up against smaller players because he's not that strong. So they don't have to put a big on him. And then he gets into offensive foul trouble. So for us, like I was very hesitant at that. However, he kind of did something that I did appreciate and what I did agree with the inside the NBA people when they were talking about, like, you need to adjust mid-game if something's not working. And right off the bat, Karl was trying to take threes and fadeaway shots and stuff like that. And then he went more into like driving and getting fouls called for him, because I think he ended up with a few fouls. Yeah, he had like 7 free throws. Ant had 10. So we had like really good like aggressiveness in the beginning. And I was like, okay, I'm pretty happy with that adjustment, because, I think the 3 will eventually fall if you can get some like free throws, get your rhythm, whatever. Then he just kind of went back to the same old. He couldn't post up on people. He was getting pushed out even further. And that's bad. And I'm not, I mean, a lot of people think of me as like a Towns hater, which is fair. People can say that. But, like, I'm not trying to say that this was on Towns tonight, because I do think there was a pretty equal blame between the two of him and Ant. But Towns, are you worried about Towns in this series? Do you see, and I know I'm putting you on the spot, but do you see anything in this series where you're like, yeah, maybe Towns won't work, or maybe he should do more posting up, or what's your opinion on that?
I think when Towns is successful in the paint, it's when he actually starts out in the corner and gets a feed or offensive board and a putback. Like a lot of his paint points aren't designed to be paint points. They're, it comes from slop or a miss or, something along those lines. Or, he's setting up for a 3 and then pump fakes and then dribbles in and lays it in. So now I don't really want to see a ton of post work from him.
Yeah.
Unless it's to set up action later in the game. I don't think it should be like a primary action that they draw up necessarily, unless it's to set up like a kick out later on in the game. But, none of that matters when the ancillary pieces are just not on. And, the players that helped us win games in the regular season were Nah and, Mike being awesome from 3, which he was pretty good tonight. But when you subtract those satellite pieces away, then the stars really don't have as much chance to shine, because they can just lock down on them.
Yep, that is true. Yeah, man, disappointing night.
Yeah,
get over it. I see a lot of concern in the chat. I don't think you can see the chat on your end, can you?
Yeah, I've got some of it here. Yeah,
you've got
it's pretty negative.
It's pretty brutal, which is fair. I mean, here's the thing.
Yeah.
We're an overreaction show. We go live immediately after the game. So I want you guys to get it all out. Think of this as therapy. Get it all out so that tomorrow when you come back with a cool head, you can maybe have some, either continue the same thoughts that you already had and validate those fears, or come out level-headed. Who knows? But Muhammad says, a member, by the way, Muhammad says, can we still win this series? And then I think after this, we'll go into the tier list. But can we still win this series? I'll pass it to you first, and then I'll give an answer too. What do you think?
I mean, honestly, I would normally say probably not, being down 2-0. But after the magic that we saw in the Denver series, I'm not ready to give up. I wouldn't say I'm like super confident, but I'm not ready to stop watching either, because crazier things have happened and we saw those crazier things already. So
exactly.
But a lot of it has to do with the energy and the mindset, because the skill is there to get it done. But it's execution and sticking to the game plan and not panicking. And I think we saw some panic tonight, and players kind of getting outside of themselves, and that it's not possible if that continues.
100%. I totally agree with everything you're saying. Yeah, and to put the optimistic spin on it, which is very hard at the moment, but to put the optimistic spin, look at the Denver series. I mean, obviously, we still ended up winning that series, but we won the first 2 games at Denver, and that was a shock. And then they came into Minnesota and whooped us. like it wasn't close the first game, and then the second game was closer, but they still won. And then they went back home and won the third in a row. So clearly it's possible. And then they had to lose 2 in a row to give up the series. So, and here's the thing. If you win game 3, it's immediately a 2-1 series. And that seems very doable. If it's 2-1, obviously you can make a comeback from that. It's a little scary going into that 4th game then, because then you're like, okay, well, we almost have to win this one too, because you don't want to go down 3-1 and then have to win 3 in a row. But no, yeah, it's still possible, of course. But exactly what you said, there were moments tonight where they panicked. And it did not look good. It was concerning. And, a lot of the time, I mean, I feel like I have this like telepathic like connection with the team emotions, because like coming into the first game, I was not nervous at all. I said that a lot in the Discord. And it kind of felt like the team was not nervous in like a productive way either. It felt like they were very much like, okay, whatever, we're just going to play this out and see what happens kind of a deal. And this game, I also was like a little bit more locked in, but I wasn't like fully there. And even when we went up 15, I started to like ease up a little bit. And I don't necessarily know that we eased up in this game, but more so that people just like really Doncic just makes buckets at the right time. Kyrie just makes buckets at the right time. And they make them in enough runs to make it like, oh, that's kind of a killer. Like when we went into the half and it was only 12 instead of 18, it was like, that hurts. But you're right. We saw panic in those moments, and it felt very much like, even though we had like a 13-point lead, a 10-point lead, a whatever point lead, it was like a struggle. And it felt very much like it was just a tie game. Showed a little bit more heart tonight, but yeah, Eric.
I will say though, oh no, Eric. As usual, coming through.
Yes, seriously, thank you, Eric. I appreciate it. And then well, with the $2 super chat. See my last post. We're making history, baby. Okay, what did well say? Well. NBA TV just said teams are 0-71 in series after playing a game 7. Oh yeah, okay. Oh, after playing a game 7. Yeah. And going down 0-2. Oh, okay.
That's brutal.
We will make history this year. I believe.
I mean, I will say that if there has been a trademark for the Wolves all season long, it's that adversity is a catalyst for them. So if you're going to hang your hope hat on something, it's that this team seems to lock it in when the chips are down.
Yeah.
So hopefully they just surprise all of us again. But yeah, it all starts with one game, and that's in Dallas.
Yeah, you have to. And now we've reached that point that it's kind of like not fun to talk about, because it's like, oh, I don't want to like say this out loud, but like you just got to focus on one game at a time. You can't you can't think about the series. You can't think about how far down you are. You might even just have to think about it like quarter by quarter. And that's something that I kind of wish we would have done. And I think we probably did. But like if in the fourth quarter this time, we would have been like, you know what, we're up by 8, just win the quarter, like, or tie the quarter even. Like just whatever you have to do that. And I'm sure that was the goal. But, just win that fourth quarter and you're tied 1-1. And we're having completely different conversations. Probably still the same conversations about Ant and Cat. But our bench, you can't really fault our bench in this series so far, which brings me to our next point, the tier list with ads, with square ads. You're going to see some weird ads on here. I get some strange ones on here. What is this? Rugs? I thought it said Russia, and I was like, that's so on brand.
Your browsing history is showing.
Yeah, browser. I am not looking at rugs, though. That's not true. But the tier list brought to you by Rugs USA is here. So for those of you that don't know how it goes, it's pretty self-explanatory. We've got a lot of tiers. And I don't even know if we have everybody that's truly supposed to be on this tier list. I just grabbed an old link that I had. Ashwin's kind of taken over for doing this. So hopefully hopefully this is somewhat accurate. But A1, unforgettably good game. Unfortunately, I don't know that we can do that tonight. Oh, the ad went away. And then Cash is like a really good shooting performance. We may have a contender for that. Oh, we don't have a sensational on here. We are missing some things, but we can add that in. I can maybe add that in right now. Add a row below. We're calling it. Oh, just kidding. And we're not changing the color. We're doing this on the fly. Uh-oh, sensational. Spelling live. Sensational. I did that in the wrong order. There we go. Okay, I fixed it. Sensational is like an amazing, amazing game. Cash is a really good shooting game. A is a really solid game, better than we expected. B is like slightly above average or what we expect. Meh, didn't really notice you, or, you kind of just did exactly what we expected you to do. D'Lo is, think D'Angelo Russell. Juancho is taking away from the team. Bottoms is terrible. And Glenn Taylor is usually reserved for like many bad games in a row or like really terrible things. And I'm sure that lots of you, sorry, I don't have the link to post to you guys in chat for you guys to fill it out. So you're going to have to participate in chat. And I think, yeah, old school way. Let's start with, I can't see everybody. Let me see. Let me try to make this smaller, but then the ad's going to come back probably. Let's start with Nah. Actually, Morris played a couple seconds tonight, but we're not going to say anything because he did nothing. Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Interesting one. He had played 14 minutes, 6 points, 2 assists, 1 rebound. He was a +7. He was 2 of 4 shooting. Both of his misses were from 3, and they were ridiculously quick threes. But he was able to drive a little bit. This is a tough one. I don't really know what to think of Nah. My initial reaction is the threes, man, they are not going. It is not looking great. So it's like maybe we need to just, chill and drive or pass, or I don't know. But something seems wrong with him. I guess if I had to give an initial grade, initially I was thinking like Juancho, because it was not looking great when he was out there. He made a couple buckets to kind of make up for it. I don't know. I don't know if it's meh. I almost want to say it's like a D'Lo, but what are your thoughts on a grade?
So conventional basketball wisdom would say that when you have a 3-and-D guy like Nah had been for a while, you just keep putting confidence in him, keep trusting that the shot will fall eventually. But that doesn't work in the Western Conference Finals, especially now that we're down 2-0. So
yeah, yep.
And also, you would think that you'd be able to stick him on one of either Kyrie or Luka and trust his defense that has been there, but that doesn't even seem like it's the same anymore. So no. I've been saying it in the Discord a little bit, that I think he's hurting, and I don't think it's his shoulder. I think it's something lower body that's limiting his movement, and that's why he's not as locked down on defense as he has been. So yeah, I think I agree with Eric. It's pretty bad, man. I mean, he's D'Lo or worse for me.
Yeah, I think D'Lo might be generous, but I think since he did kind of redeem himself, get a couple buckets, I don't want to go full Juancho. But yeah, it's not looking good. Muhammad, how to vote? Unfortunately, tonight I don't have the link for you, so you're just gonna have to give your vote in chat. Sorry, Ashwin's the one that manages that, and he's out someplace. He's at a hotel
in San Francisco.
That's right. Yes. So he is not here to do that. And I think there's a way for me to just like press play someplace, but I'm not going to mess with it. So, oh yeah, you can do live. I don't know. I'm not going to mess with it. I don't want to screw anything up. But yes. And yes, Samurai feels bad, man. Yes, It does, Sam. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we got one done. Let's do Jaden McDaniels next. Jaden. Bad one tonight. I'll read his stats, then I'll give you the first thoughts on him. 36 minutes, 2 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, 1 of 6 shooting. Unfortunately, after such an amazing shooting night the other night, 2 turnovers, 2 personal fouls, only 2, which is great. I mean, maybe he needs to be more physical with Luka. Like, if he's only getting 2 fouls a night, we need to do something. And all of his rebounds were defensive. But I'll let you go first on your thoughts about Jaden McDaniels.
After those 3 consecutive 20-point games that we got out of him, I felt like this was going to happen.
I know.
It felt like it was coming. And unfortunately, I was right. It was bound. And he feels like for his career, he's going to be like that. He's going to be a streaky guy where you're going to get consistent defense from him usually, but the offense is going to come in bunches. Mm-hmm. And Finch and the staff has to figure out how to time that up so he can be supplemental with his offense instead of going off when other players are also going off. Yeah. I don't know how that happens, but that's why I'm not an NBA coach. But I there's just not a whole lot to say about it. It was just a letdown after what had been a great run. And I know this tier list is often, based on expectations. And after, he created those expectations by having 3 great games offensively. So it's, I would say meh, because his defense was still acceptable, if not better. I think meh is what I would vote.
I think you're right. I think meh is probably is fair. I think this is one that's going to have to take some rewatching. I don't know that I want to rewatch. It's hard to rewatch losses, but I got to see his defense again. I felt in the moment that his defense was okay. He's on Luka a lot. He was on Kyrie more tonight. But I felt like it was okay, and Kyrie didn't have as crazy of a game, so that was kind of nice. I think, long story short, I think Matt is probably safe tonight. You're right. I don't know how often we can't expect 20 plus points from Jaden a night. And if we could, then we're not talking about a loss here. If Jaden's scoring 20 points a night for us on a consistent basis, then we are up 2-0 essentially at that point. So, or at least it's 1-1. But
can you still hear me? Okay, my buds went out. Okay.
Yep, you're good. But yes, I think meh for Jaden, and he's one of those players that you kind of have to rewatch because you have to watch the off ball a little bit because he's out there for 36 minutes, but it's like he scores 2 points. He's the hardest person to put on the tier list. It's just forever he's been that way. But yeah. So next, let's do the last bench player, I believe. Nope, second to last bench player, and Kyle Anderson. Slow-mo, get your grades in for Kyle Anderson in the chat. Kyle Anderson played 20 minutes, 7 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He shot 2 of 5. He was also one of our only 2+ players tonight, him and Na. No turnovers, 3 personal fouls, which I think is fine. You're okay with him being physical because he's not going to have 30 minutes. Kyle's kind of had a little bit of a redemption story here in this series, but we need to be winning. He's had some good play. He's been able to score a little bit. His defense has kind of, switched things up a little bit for the Mavs. It's been a little because his length is always so surprising to people because he has such a long arm span or wingspan. So when he contests a shot, even if he doesn't jump, it's he still has the possibility of blocking that shot. I feel like this has been a pretty decent. Compared to what we've been seeing in the last 2 series, which we kind of talked about. Sure, he was not playing well also in those series, but it also was a bad matchup for him. Bad matchup plus him playing bad was not great for the grades in the tier list. But it was a bad matchup for him, and this is a little bit better of a matchup for him. So it's good to see him out there. We're getting back to that point which has been a long time since I felt this, but I see Kyle Anderson come on the floor, and I'm kind of, I don't know if relieved is the right word, but I'm kind of okay with it. I feel like Kyle played okay. I almost want to give him a B. I don't know. This seems solid to me. I don't really have any major problems with this. But how about you?
And I think with Kyle, like relative to Kyle, I'm always when he's playing, especially when he's got the ball in his hand, he had some positives, but I think more than that, he had not that many negatives. And I think that alone, I think puts him in B tier for me.
I like that. I like that. Good analysis. Hashtag analysis.
Yeah.
Kyle is meh. Okay. Biggest 755 for Kyle is auto sensational for me. Or B.
I don't know. I mean, we also do round down for losses, so maybe that should maybe figure into it.
That is a tricky one.
Yeah.
I don't know that I want to round down. I almost feel like, I don't know. I'm kind of in between.
Mark, I wouldn't be upset with either, honestly.
Like, I think I'm comfy with the B. I feel like we have to give him maybe not his flowers, but a flower. And
single rose.
Give him a single rose for tonight. Because he's been okay. He really has been okay. And we've survived the Kyle minutes, and even, I don't want to say thrive, but we've done some things. So I'm okay with it. Mark just got here. Other Mark just got here.
Hey, other Mark.
I just want Ant to be Glenn Taylor. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm very scared to go to the Ant grade. Okay. I think the last bench player is one of the most important players of the game in Naz Reid. Naz Reid, 31 minutes, 23 points. Flamethrower, 2 rebounds, 2 steals, and a block shot. He was 8 of 13, 7 of 9 from 3. That's crazy. He got half of Arby's by himself. And 2 personal fouls, did have 1 turnover. Amazing. This is a really good game from him. It's almost identical to the Jaden game, where it's like, if we don't have, didn't Jaden score 23 points as well? And he shot like 7 threes? I don't know. But if we don't have Naz in this game, if Naz doesn't go off like this in this game, I don't know that we win. It's like the same exact thing that I could say about Jaden in the last game. So, this is a fantastic game for me. I feel like I don't know if it's sensational.
No. Definitively cash, I say.
It's like this is like the definition of cash, because he hit a ton of shots, basically all of them threes. So that looked, that was good. I feel like cash is a pretty good lock here.
And like, not only did he hit a bunch of threes, but like, he hit them from all over the place, when usually he's just corner 3, corner 3, corner 3. But he was hitting them from the, in the middle of the arc. He was hitting them all over, whether or not there was a hand in his face too. Like, he hit a couple over some people, and we're not used to seeing that. Usually his threes come from people not respecting his game. And even when they were putting somebody on him, he was still able to slide a little bit or just put it right up over somebody. And that's pretty impressive.
Certainly is. He could have used some help. Naz needs help.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go to the starters, and we're going to start with maybe Mike. Mike Conley, 33 minutes, 18 points. 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He was 7 of 14, 2 of 5 from 3. He had 2 turnovers, 3 fouls, but I don't know. Overall, a pretty decent game. He has had some of those like boneheaded, weird turnovers that I'm just like, man, this is just such a killer from Mike. We really need him. Like the first game, it was like that weird lob to Rudy, which you could argue is just a really, really good play by Luka, where he batted it away, and surprising play by Luka, because that's not really like Luka's game to do something like that. But still, it was still throwing a lob into traffic, and that was the first game. But this game, I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was one play where I remember I was not thrilled with it. But what are your thoughts on Mike tonight?
We talked a little bit about it in the open, about how I think some of my feelings about his game are more having to do with the intangibles, and how in those moments of panic, he wasn't able to settle things down, when we've seen him do that in the past. Kind of get everybody collected and back composed and playing the brand of basketball that the Wolves need to play to win.
Yep.
And when that's lacking, that takes away a lot of his value, because those are the things that win teammate of the year. It's not the counting numbers that win an award like that. It's his influence that he has over the game and over his teammates. And it seemed like in those moments of panic, he was one of the people panicking, and we can't have that from him. Like that.
Yeah.
If you're a glue guy, like, the intangibles matter. So I guess I don't really know where I fall on the tier list for him, but my feelings are muddied a little bit because of what we lacked from him tonight.
Yeah, I think that is very good analysis there. Yeah, it kind of, because two things are true. One, he was aggressive offensively, and we needed that, and he hit a lot of shots. He hit 50% of his shots. That's fantastic. Usually, when when Mike Conley does that, that's pretty good for us. That's usually resulting in a win. At the same time, if we're gonna have Mike have these kind of mental errors and struggle this way with the leadership element of it in these games, I mean, like, that's a pretty crucial thing. Obviously, there's more crucial things, but like, he is our on the court leader, and we just didn't really have a ton of that tonight. So yeah, and then Bigas is right. Thought he was going to get his tech tonight. He deserved, by the way, that was a foul. That play where he was like getting pushed, he was getting grabbed, and he had to get the ball away. And then he looks right at, I think, Zarba, and like flexes angrily at him. And it was like, oh, that seemed like that was going to be the tech. And then I thought they were going to do the thing where they wait until like Luka goes down, scores on the other end, and then they do the tech kind of a thing. But they didn't. So he may never get a tech then if he's going to be able to get away with that. So
his reputation is the only way he did get that right there.
Exactly. But I think the problem is that I feel like he's almost trying to get techs to like get things going.
Right.
And they're just, unfortunately, he's built too good of a reputation to get a tech. But I think with the varying factors here, I feel like offensively he was probably like a B, maybe even an A. Yeah, probably closer to a B. And I feel like the leadership element that we've kind of been talking about, or like the keeping your cool, was closer to a D. So I'm kind of falling in the middle here. Looks like chat. It says Eric says B or meh for Mike. I think so. I do think it's meh.
Yeah.
I think meh. If I think it's probably meh. The offense was good enough, but if it was the same production as the last game, and we had kind of like the panicked stuff that you were just talking about, then we're definitely talking D'Lo or worse. I don't know. It's scary to say. But okay. Next, who do we want to do? Let's do Rudy. Let's get Rudy out of the way. Rudy Gobert, 37 minutes, 16 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, a block. He was 6 of 10. He was 4 of 6 on his free throws. Shout out to Rudy for his free throw making this entire postseason. Seriously, no team has attempted hack a Rudy because he's shooting like 70% or more. So that's good. Shout out to Rudy for that. Did have 5 personal fouls. Rudy. So this is a tough one to talk about because when we weren't doing the drop coverage, I felt like he was somewhat holding his own. Of course, he gets beat on the last play against Luka, which hurts. I don't so much blame him for that. That's just a bad matchup for him to be out there, especially for Luka, who's such a good step back shooter and a long distance shooter. But the switch before that, you could have maybe aggressively tried to not have that switch happen. And had some tricky things offensively where like he had it against Lively, even moved Lively out of the way, and then just his hands, I don't know, they're bricks, and he just like launches it over the basket for just like a simple lay-in. He got bailed out one time too. But I don't know. It's just, this is a struggle because one, Draymond very conveniently chose to join inside the NBA for this series. And we're seeing all of the things that people have talked about with Rudy in the past about this. Also, the drop coverage and the giving up the lobs is really painful. And that's what we that's like, I know everybody is saying that we built this team to beat Denver, which is like, I guess, partially true. But again, it was to beat Memphis because Brandon Clark was doing exactly what Gafford is doing it to us all the time, both getting offensive rebounds and getting lob dunks. So this is not doing that. And putbacks. Yeah. And just rebounding in general, which they unfortunately have some bigs that can do that in PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford and Lively. And I'm forgetting somebody else. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Rudy?
Well, so to point out at least a positive, I will say he had a couple Karl-like energy dunks that I think got the team going a little bit.
Yep.
When times are tough, like moments like that can spark something. And unfortunately, it wasn't enough of a spark. But there were times when Dallas was going on a run, and then he would just easily knock one down on either an offensive rebound or a lot of times a feed in the paint. And those were moments when I kind of got my heart jumped a little bit, and I was like, okay, now we can carry this. And it didn't sustain. But when that's the only positive for a guy, it's hard to rank him very high.
Yeah.
May at best, I guess. The lobs are concerning because there were some times, especially in the Phoenix series, when he was getting in the middle of those and breaking them up. And when you're asking him to get out on the perimeter and defend, then he's not there for those. And I think that's where a lot of his value comes from defensively. So it's tough.
It is tough. I think I agree with him, Matt. Because yes, he did have some redeeming. I'm not saying he had a terrible game, and I'm not saying you said that I said that, but it was an okay game, but it is concerning because these are the things that we need to stop. And maybe we have maybe Chris Finch goes to the drawing board here with the team, and they find a way to stop that. And if they can stop that, then it's possible because their team is very dependent on the two things. They need Luka to be able to do one of either or, lobbing it to the bigs, or he's got to work in getting his step backs and just making tough shots. Those are like the two ways that they're going to be most effective in their offense. And if we can kind of stop just the lobs and things like that, I know he can still find people because he's a fantastic passer, but that could mess up their game plan just enough to kind of turn this series completely around. Mm-hmm. Because if we can stop the lobs, which they had, I don't know, a dozen tonight, there's so many. That's huge. And that could change the tide of the entire series. Like if we stop them and then get on a run, because all these games have been close. And I think everybody would say the Timberwolves have not played their best basketball. This is, in fact, maybe some of their worst basketball that they've played all postseason for sure.
Chat's saying B.
B, I'll take it. I mean, hey, we can do B. Maybe he needs a B to stand up to Draymond in the inside the NBA.
And I guess relative to the rest of the team, he was one of the brighter spots. So,
and I was wrong. He was one of 3+ players tonight. So he was +1, but
and a double, that's good.
Yep, he was. So yeah, we can give him a B. I think we just have high expectations for him, which is why we kind of went with the math. But B is fair. I think B is fine. Okay. Well, I think we've got 2 players left. Karl-Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. We're going to do Karl first and Ant last. Karl-Anthony Towns. Karl-Anthony Towns. By the way, everybody like the stream if you haven't already. Need some likes on the stream.
And get in the Discord.
And get in the Discord. Shout out the Discord. We have a lot of fun in the Discord. I was going to say more fun. We probably do have more fun. But
it's a little less safe for work in there.
It is definitely not safe for work. But yes, join the Discord. Karl-Anthony Towns played 25 minutes, lowest of any starter.
Wow. Telling.
25 minutes and played, I don't know, like a minute in the fourth quarter, not much. 15 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. He was 4 of 16 shooting, 1 of 5 from 3, 6 of 7 from the line. Only had 2 fouls, but they were both in the first quarter. I swear he picked up another one. This says he only had 2. But either way, he did stop his fouling, but partially because he was taken out of the game.
Right.
Not a good game for Karl. As we mentioned in the very beginning of the show here, he did have the moment that I was a little bit happy with, which was unfortunately in line with what the Inside the NBA guys were saying in, you got to make mid-game adjustments. And he clearly did that after like 3 or 4 shots where they just weren't going. I mean, he was doing like his Dirk fadeaways, his 3 points attempts. And then finally he's like, you know what, I'm just going to drive. And he starts getting fouls because it's like, he's got PJ Washington on him. He's obviously larger than PJ Washington. So, or at least he's more of a big and plays like a big and more skilled as a big than PJ Washington is down there. So he was doing like turn and like he had all the moves going. And it was working for a little bit. And I was very proud of him in that moment. But then it just resorted to, I can't get anything, very much like Anthony Edwards, just kind of giving up on what defense was giving him and just settling for long shots, settling for difficult shots. And then he was getting to the basket a little bit at times where he was just kind of flailing, trying to draw fouls, not going strong. And that hurt. But this was a pretty bad game from Towns, and one that a lot of national media will cling on to, even though he's played really, really well this postseason. Really, he has, both in the Phoenix series and in the Denver series, defensively especially. The defense has not been as much needed. He was on Doncic a little bit tonight, but that was more just we were throwing bodies at him as much as we could. So, yeah, not a great game from Towns. Your thoughts on Towns tonight?
I would like to think that there's a better way to use him offensively than we've seen so far this series against this Mavs team. But I don't know if there is. If he's going to miss every 3 he takes, and then when he drives, it seems like all of a sudden he's just settling for layups and not trying to get violent at the rim, when his size really should say, just try to slam it in somebody's face. And we haven't seen that at all. Like, I don't know if we've seen that a whole lot since Phoenix. I don't even think we saw him like make anybody his adopted child in the Nuggets series either. Like, something has made him a little timid and maybe it's the offensive fouls that he was getting called for, getting in his head a little bit. But you can't play this game afraid of the refs. You just can't. And you're going to lose. You're going to lose basketball games that way. So this again, I know the region of the tier list that he should live in, but I'm not really sure exactly which one I'd toss him in. My heart's saying D'Lo.
Your heart's saying D'Lo. Okay. I'm struggling with this one. I'm thinking Juancho. And I was almost even considering bottoms. I don't know that it's bottoms, because I don't think it was bottoms. But I think me personally, I'm probably a little bit closer to bottoms than I am D'Lo. This was, we need our stars to show up. And if our stars aren't going to show up, then we can't win games. Towns is the most, he is a vet technically on the team. He's been here for 8-9 years. And we need his shot making. He is the self-proclaimed best shooting big man, which of course, unfortunately, he's always being compared to Dirk, which gives the Mavs plenty of ammunition now to disprove. Yeah, this is just a really tough game. You can't shoot 25% from the field. You you had things that were working for you in the beginning, and I feel like you had to keep going to those and figuring out a way to get to that. Also, some really, really boneheaded defensive plays where we're leaving we're leaving Lively right in the middle of the lane when Doncic can just easily pass it to him, easy dunk, no problem, multiple times. And that's actually what got him taken out of the game. So I think it hurts. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like a lot of people in chat are saying D'Lo. Or actually, Annie Oop, your ×2 is saying Glenn Taylor. Cat, D'Lo, the other Mark. Sorry, I keep calling you the other Mark. Cat is unfortunately D'Lo. Cat, easy Glenn Taylor. Oh boy. We need 5 fouls from Cat. Keeps the defense guessing. I think I'm going to make the executive decision and go with Juancho.
Yeah.
I think this was a bad game.
That's fair. I mean, I was going to save this line for Ant, but I guess it can apply to both. Like, it's okay to expect greatness from these players, you know, and we're not getting it.
And I think it's a little bit I'm not trying to take blame off of Ant. We're going to get to Ant here. But, you know, Ant is 22 years old and been in the league 4 years. Cat is like 26 or 27 or maybe older. I don't even remember. And he's been in the league for 8-9 years. Yeah. So I think it's fair to give Towns a lot more blame because he is technically the more veteran player. You know, he's the one that should technically have this all down by now. But he doesn't. So that's why I feel like it's fair to be pretty harsh on Cat. This isn't hate. This is just a bad game, and I think he obviously would agree because he shot 4 of 16. So
right, it's not hate to react to what the evidence that we're given, you know, and that's what we're doing. Yep,
100%. And that's a show. No, I'm just kidding. That was everybody. We didn't miss any single player tonight. No, we did.
Well, to be fair, if we forgot about Ant, it would be kind of like what he did in the game. So
it would both games, both first and second game. This is pain. Everybody get your grades in for Anthony Edwards.
Face of the league, Anthony Edwards.
Face of Chipotle, Anthony Edwards.
Hey, don't drink Sprite.
Yeah, drink Sprite. Do not drink. He has had too much Sprite before these games. 40 minutes, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, but we all know that does not tell the tale of this game. He was a -9. He shot 5 of 17. Did get to the line. I do appreciate the getting to the line. That was a positive. That is the positive of tonight. 2 turnovers, 1 game-losing turnover is what I'm going to call it.
Yeah.
Game-losing turnover. Only 2 personal fouls. He did not seem as gassed tonight. He was able to get a lot of breaks, too. After the first quarter, he sat for like the last minute or 2, and then he sat for like the first 6 minutes of the second quarter. But then he played pretty much the rest of the game and was still able to. I mean, he was still a little slow at the end of the game, which I think is acceptable to some degree. But also, we were getting so many timeouts, and there were challenges and all these kind of slow plays that were happening, which I think gave us more chance to kind of catch our breath and be fine. However, just a pretty atrocious game. I mean, this is really bad. And you guys know I am an Ant homer. I am an Ant defender. And I will say, again, this is only on tonight's game. We saw some comments early on in stream that were pretty crazy that made me put some restrictions on you having to be like an hour or longer subscriber or something like that. Some people calling to trade Ant and stuff like that. That's a little crazy. But how are you feeling about Ant's performance tonight?
Well, so if we expect greatness from Cat, we got to expect greatness +1 from Ant because he's shown that he's better than what he's played like. Yeah. That's the problem with setting the bar high. Yes. You got to hit that bar consistently. Mm-hmm. You can't shrink in the biggest moments. And there's not a lot to say, like it was just a forgettable performance, and that might be the biggest indictment you can make on a star player is that it was a forgettable night. You want to remember his performances, and he's making you not want to. it's not that he makes mistakes, it's when he makes them.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'd like to not think that it's the pressure that's forcing these mistakes, but it kind of seems like it is.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just something that comes with the calluses that you build up from having some experience. But man, gaining that experience sucks, as fans.
Yeah.
Because once that bar is set, it's just it's such a letdown.
It is weird because the stakes were high against Phoenix, and then because we were down, we had lost every regular season game to them, and Ant played all of them, I believe. And then he goes in there and dominates. He dominates that series, pretty much single-handedly. Beat the Suns. And then we go up against Denver, the reigning champs, 7-game series. And, again, he has a lot of good performances, even has like a 40-point game in there. But since that 40-point game has been almost nothing. I know that the points show 21, and last game he had 19. Even last game was I said it on stream, but it was like a pretty fraudulent 19. Those were just lucky shots that he settled for early in the game and made. When realistically, he probably was like a 10 or less point player in the last game.
Zach and Mark bring up good points in the chat, how the MIDI has just disappeared.
Yeah.
And that was like his bread and butter for a little while. That's where the MJ comparisons were coming from.
And one of his first shots tonight was a MIDI, and it was really he pulled it wasn't maybe it hit. It was very confident. It reminded me of thinking of Shea and these other players that can or Doncic even, where they can get to their spots and just make a shot. That felt like, Ant got to his spot, made a shot.
Yep.
And then he never took it again. It seems like in his mind, we're stuck in either I dunk it or I take a three, and they're clogging the lane, so I can't dunk it. So let me dribble for the entire shot clock and then turn it over or take a really bad three.
Yeah.
2 of 7 from 3 tonight. It's not terrible, but
it's but it's mental. That is the biggest indicator is that he lost his bag, and
yes.
We got the soundbite. I'm going to get in my bag back in the Denver series, and that's what his bag is the mid-range.
Yeah, he got in his game for that game, and then since then he has not been in his bag. It's tough. I'm seeing a lot of calls for. I saw a Glenn Taylor. I saw somebody call for Hitler tier. I saw somebody call for Galveston tier. I do think that this was at minimum bottoms. This was a really bad game.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is based off of expectations, because I do think that I think you and I both have kind of for the game, we're very disappointed. For long term, I think we're pretty level-headed about it. This is certainly disappointing to see this happen on the brightest stage. But I do think that, you learn from failure. You have to take these failures as learning opportunities. Yeah. And I think he will. He's a very coachable guy, as at least that's what everybody says. He's still 22, and I'm not trying to give that as an excuse, especially not for tonight. But, this is good. He's going to have great experience this summer. Unfortunately, it's going to make him even more tired going into the season, but maybe it'll keep him in shape.
And we're not even there yet. We're 2 games into a 7-game series, hopefully 7 game, or at least 6. But I get what you're saying. We don't want to go to bed depressed, so we got to hang our hats on something, and that's that. There's we're seeing him be great at times and then falter at times, but we all know the potential, and we just want to see him realize that potential when it counts the most. Yeah.
And he had such an opportunity. I do think that he was bad all game, but a lot of my feelings about him really took such a hit for this game again, specifically on that turnover, when it was all we had to do was get a shot up, draw a foul, not turn it over. And it felt like we had a chance. And he just, I guess you could maybe partially blame Naz for moving, but he should, Ant should be the one taking these shots here. He should not be, settling. I feel like even if he was to take a contested three there, I almost would have rather had that happen than him pass out to Naz or anybody. Like, I feel like it's his time to show that he can win. And he didn't. He shied away from it.
Or even if that turnover would have been because of an offensive foul, because he was trying to drive instead of just throwing it away. Like, go down swinging, not flailing.
Yeah, exactly. Make him make a call. Also, they owed you a call. I've kind of talked about this before, and I feel like because from that Jaden play where they clearly saw on replay that he was fouled, but they can't call it a foul. That's one of those situations that I've talked about before, where it's like our team has to be a little bit smarter with when you can get away with a foul after like they miss one, or when you can take advantage of that kind of problem. And maybe that wasn't the perfect opportunity, but it was possibly an opportunity to do so. So, I don't know. Entertaining a comment that I perhaps shouldn't. I haven't read the whole thing. Unless Ant grows 3 inches, this team isn't going anywhere. Lucked out this season, but teams like the Grizzlies are infinitely better. I don't know about that. OKC.
Thanks for watching, but that sounds like somebody who hasn't watched sports very long.
Yeah, especially if you're talking about the Grizzlies like that. OKC will only get better is a true statement. I mean, they are scary.
Yeah.
And they're gonna hopefully, because they missed out on the offseason getting in the trade deadline to get a big. And there's some guy named Victor Wembanyama. I mean, that's true. But yeah, I don't think that's necessary to have happen. So I think so. Sounds like one of our friends that's in the Discord. I think this is a burner account, JJ. We know the shtick. But laugh now, but Grizzlies will be up. I don't know about that. Anyways,
that's all we got, man. That's all we got.
Ant's grade. Are we finishing? Where are we going? Are we going bottoms or Glenn Taylor?
I'm comfortable with bottoms. I feel like Glenn Taylor saved for like actively tanking a game, and that's not. I don't think that's what we saw. It was bad, but it wasn't torpedo.
People are gonna say that I'm being biased or something, because I always say Glenn Taylor is typically like several bad games in a row, and he has had several bad games in a row. I guess he's had a couple bad games, not several, only 2. So I don't know. It's certainly, I think it is close because it was that bad, and it cost us the game. He needs to be more aggressive. It can't just be first half. It's got to be more. I'd be curious to see what he has to say in post game. Not that I care really, because all I care about is actions really at this point.
Yeah.
In the season, especially. I mean, regular season, sure, maybe I care a little bit more about like exactly what he has to say, and I'll learn off of it. But like, we're in a finite amount of time now, so like we have to see action. And then I guess the coaching staff, I always have such a hard time grading them. I feel like it was better tonight because we did stop as it's a lot of the drop coverage, but we still had a little bit of it. I think I'm just going meh. I don't know. I feel like I just go way too wildly back and forth between coaching being like A and Wancho and A and Wancho, just back and forth. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I think meh is fair. I think we should judge the coaches the same way we judge Mike, kind of, with the lack of, or the presence of panic, I guess, or the lack of composure in certain moments. That's directly comes from the coaching staff. They say teams embody the coach, and all year that's been the case, and I think that was the same tonight.
It is. Zach, I like this comment. Having a 22-year-old in the conference final is a major step. Yes, it is. Also, think of this. People think of the Celtics as like a major success. They haven't won. And they've been to the Eastern Conference Finals like, what, 5 times now, 6 times or whatever?
Yeah.
And that was when Tatum was young as well. It's taken him a while, and this is no shade to Tatum, but like, it's taken him a while, and maybe this is his year. I don't know. But it takes time. I certainly think that all of us were starting to get really high on the Kool-Aid here because we just beat the former champs. We beat the Suns, who we had never beaten in the regular season. So it kind of felt like we were like, knocking at the door of all these like demons that we have and just one by one slaying them. And again, the series isn't over. This is not over by any means. We still can come back. And think of it. If we win the next game, it is possible. 2-1 series is totally possible, especially with how we've played on the road. That would be awesome. And, if we could get – I think one thing that might be key is getting Luka more irritated by the refs. So if we can play a little bit more physical, I think we probably have to do that.
Yeah.
Because also it seems like we have fouls to expend on like Jaden and Nah and even Ant. I think we can play a little bit more physical and see what we can get away with. I'm not saying to foul them, but Mark Davis doesn't think anything's a foul, and Tony Brothers thinks if you touch each other at all, even at just like normal legal contact, it's a foul. So where on that spectrum will it be? We will see. Now, watch our luck. We'll get Tony Brothers for Game 3.
This is Western Conference Finals basketball, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
This is a loaded conference, and we are one of the top 2 left. And it's not. It was never going to be easy. And if we go on to lose this series, realignment could be right around the corner with expansion. So we could be in the East and facing a whole different road, not too far down.
It is
in the future.
Very true. That would be interesting. And it seems like that deal is happening, but we haven't heard anything super specific about expansion teams since we've heard any of the breaking news. But whoa, perfect timing. Ryan with the $5 super chat. I appreciate it. Judd from Score North said that he saw Ant using oxygen in the tunnel. He's 100% gassed. Yeah, and actually, I think, Ryan, all the players have been using oxygen because if you remember the Phoenix series, I think it was the Phoenix series, you saw Jaden go, or no, maybe it was early Denver. Jaden went into the tunnel and then came back with nothing. All of our players are going into the tunnel and taking oxygen, I think, in breaks. So I think that is something normal, but he is gassed no matter what. He is gassed. It's been a problem, and I don't really know what to take out of that. Honestly, I don't know if that's just conditioning. I don't know if that's.
It's the first time in his life he's ever played this long.
Yeah, I mean that's true. Yeah, yep. And I think we could also see that kind of he hit somewhat of a wall. Midway through this season as well. He had an amazing game against the Pacers, obviously, where he won the game both offensively and with the amazing block, which he just won Block of the Year for. But in that same time period was like he'd have a really good game and then have a couple bad games, have a really good game, have a couple bad games, which of course you cannot afford to do in the playoffs. And the playoffs are months after that. Like that was in May, or that was in March. We were in May, almost June. So this is a long time. Also, he played Team USA. We played Abu Dhabi last year. Like we've had a long season. So, and Ant, of course, is both playing a lot. He's playing pretty aggressive defense, not Jaden level defense, but I mean, it's somewhat warranted to be tired, but something that he's going to have to work on. I don't know how we're going to either manage that or have better conditioning or what that looks like. Maybe
we're playing every other day until the finals if we get there. So got to figure it out.
Exactly. And that's the thing that worries me is that right now there's no time to figure it out. You just have to have it work. Because the last 2 series, we had multiple stretches where we either had 2 games off or 2 days off in between or 3 days off in between games. And now it's literally every other day. So until the finals. But
at least we're not going to altitude.
We are not going to altitude. We are certainly not.
Just a dry heat.
We are off to Dallas, where we are going to be down 0-2. Well, next game is Sunday. I believe all the games are 7 or 7:30, so I can't remember. I think this one's a 7 o'clock game. Pulling it up right now. Henry's here. Henry made it. W. Henry. We made it. Yes, Sunday is a 7 o'clock game. It's going to be a tricky one. Sunday. Oh wait, no, Sunday's not the day. For some reason, I was thinking Sunday was the day that I was going out with Ashwin. I think it's actually Tuesday that I'm going out with Ashwin. We're going to a bar to watch the game here in Seattle. If anybody wants to travel to Seattle for the weekend, you can go to a Minnesota themed bar with me and Ashwin. But I think that's probably it for us today. We went an hour and 10 minutes. You have any final words, Mark?
Thanks for having me. This was my first season in Wad Gang, and it was it's been a fun journey so far. Hopefully we're not close to ending it, but whatever the case may be, man, I'm so happy to have found this community, made a lot of new friends, and hope I get to do this again after a win sometime.
For sure. I know. I feel bad for you, Wolves box scores. Everybody that joins, we have such terrible games to talk about. But no, this was a great stream. I agree, Noah. I think this is fair. But yeah, no, it's been great to have you in the community. It's been great to meet a lot of you guys here in the chat in the community. So join the Discord. We have a lot of fun over there when we're not streaming. And I think I mentioned this last stream. I think we will be trying to get some more people to join, especially early in the stream to have some reactions, or maybe at this point in the stream, like at the very end, like we could have some people join and just talk, ask a question live, or even just go off, like Corey, you could talk about how you love the Grizzlies or something. But no, yeah, this could be a good floor for anybody to talk, and then to have some regulars, maybe Mark, you kind of join us every once in a while, and Cooper could join us, and Wolves box scores could join us. All these, we have a bunch of friends that we could have join us. So, but yeah. Anyways, Mark, you can stick around for a second. I'm just gonna play the music, and then we'll still be in the same room together. And then I'll say goodbye to you there. But I appreciate you all for joining. We're down 0-2, sad, but I do think it's important to remind ourselves we're in the Western Conference Finals. This is awesome. It's not fun today, but this is
what we asked for.
This is what we wanted. Yeah. And it's painful today. But we got an entire, even if we get swept in this, we got an extra month and a half of basketball. That's fantastic.
House money, baby.
House money. And DJ Mad Mardigan's here on Twitter, by the way.
Hey.
We got to get you in the show too. But we got to get people here for a win. It's got to be a win. I feel bad taking people onto the show for a loss, but yes.
Happy to be here anyway.
Yes, that's good. Cool. Well, it's great to see you all. Join the Discord, like the stream, subscribe to the show. Intro is the outro. 8 more wins. Ugh, I hate saying 8. Hopefully we have to say 7 after the next stream. 8 more wins is possible. Intro as the outro. We will see you all Sunday night. See ya.